happy to see a lot of participants for this webinar today. And I know a lot of people will keep coming up and we will keep letting them in. And without any further ado, I think we should get started now. Let me introduce myself. I am Pooja Adhikari, Senior Manager at Stag Marine Group, overseeing brand and corporate affairs and heading iSail Marine. It is an honor It is an honor to welcome you all to today's insightful discussion on behavioral-based safety for seafarers. Coming from an aviation background, I would like to begin by drawing a comparison between behavioral-based safety in aviation and maritime, two industries where human behavior plays a crucial role in ensuring safety. In aviation, pilots undergo rigorous simulator-based training where behavioral-based safety is continuously monitored. A strong, just culture ensures that errors are treated as learning opportunities rather than grounds for punishment. For example, if a pilot miscalculates an approach, the incident is thoroughly reviewed and the findings contribute to improving procedures and training. Similarly, cabin crew follow strict safety protocols with behavioral awareness at the core of their responsibilities. For instance, if a crew member observes a colleague skipping a crucial pre-flight safety check, they are expected to intervene immediately. This proactive approach helps mitigate risks and fosters accountability, reinforcing a culture of safety. In contrast, while structured safety frameworks exist in maritime, behavioral-based safety is still evolving. Seafarers operate in isolated conditions for extended periods, and safety culture varies significantly across companies. Unlike aviation, near-miss reporting is often less standardized, making it challenging to systematically learn from incidents. Today, our discussion will focus on bridging this gap and strengthening behavioral-based safety in the maritime industry. Now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce the distinguished experts joining us today, leaders who bring a wealth of knowledge and hands-on experience in maritime safety and human behavior. From Stag Marine, we have Captain Tanuj Balani, Managing Director, a visionary leader shaping the future of maritime operations. Captain Sunil Shukla, Principal Consultant, a veteran in safety and compliance, guiding the industry with his expertise. We have Kirtika Chopra, psychologist, bringing deep insights into human behavior and its impact on safety culture. We are also privileged to have two highly esteemed guest speakers whose contributions to the maritime industry are remarkable. Captain Pradeep Chawla, CEO and founder of Marine Pals, a thought leader revolutionizing maritime training and safety. We also have Captain V. Srinivas Reddy, General Manager of Fleet Ship Management, a seasoned expert in fleet operations and risk management. And of course, representing iSail Marine, the innovative force in maritime recruitment and talent development, Ms. Shraddha Balani, Director of iSail, driving excellence in crew placement and industry solutions. And I, Pooja Adhikari, Senior Manager, deeply passionate about bridging the gap between talent and opportunity in the maritime sector. With such an exceptional panel, we are set for an insightful and thoughtful provoking discussion. So let's dive in right in. I would like to invite Ms. Kirtika Chopra to start the session now. Thank you.
Pooja Adhikari for the introduction. Welcome all of you to iCare webinar, where we are going to be discussing about behavioral-based safety. Before we start, I would like to just give you a few lines about what behavioral-based safety is. It is just not about the rules. It is also about protecting lives. In maritime industry, one unsafe action can mean the difference between returning home safely or a tragedy at sea. Every decision, no matter what, how small it is, has the power to prevent a disaster and at the same time cause irreversible loss. I remember a senior manager in our office, while conducting briefing for cadets, ensures informing about one thing, that listen, you will get another vessel, you will get another job, you can come back to shore, you can do whatever you want. But guess what? Your hands will never come back. Your eyes will not come back. Your legs will not come back. So safety is priority. Safety is important. And this is why we all are here understanding that how we can improve safety on board and how small steps can lead to saving lives. By saying this, I have a case study that I would like to share with all of you. I would like to share my screen. Sure. So let's look at this case study to understand that how behavior impacts all of us and impacts our safety. It was 4 a.m. on October 27, 2023 in South Korea. The vessel had just finished its loading of highly flammable ethane chemical. The crew should have been on high alert. This was a critical phase where attention to detail and safety protocols could mean the difference between smooth operation and a disaster. But instead, what we see was series of poor decisions, lack of supervision, and unsafe behavior leading to a fatal outcome. Immediately following the cargo loading, safety concerns arose when the gas engineer identified a leak coming from cargo manifold. Instead of immediately securing the area and calling for senior assistance, the gas engineer made a dangerous decision. He attempted to resolve the problem on his own. An able seaman, AB3, joined, yet neither followed the proper safety protocols for the materials that were on board, amplifying the risk. Despite having non-sparking tools available on board, I will repeat, despite having non-sparking tools available on board, the crew chose standard spanners for the task, increasing the risk of ignition. This decision was a complete disregard for the necessary safety precautions associated with flammable materials. The gas engineer wore a cold weather jacket that was not compliant with the safety standards, creating a risk of static electricity ignition. The choice yet again exemplifies, just a second, okay. The choice yet again exemplifies the disregard for PPE in high-risk scenarios, a deadly risk while working with such flammable vapors. In the absence of safety behavior-based safety protocols, risky shortcuts were taken without a second thought. The gas engineer opened the manifold drain valve, releasing a large volume of vapor. Rather than stepping back and reassessing the situation safely, they proceeded to unbolt the manifold blank, exposing both of them to even a greater danger. At 4:27, the vapor ignited, likely sparked by the unsuitable tools or the static discharge from the jacket. A massive fireball, more than 10 meters wide, erupted and engulfed the manifold platform. With no other option, AB jumped over the ship's rail, landing hard on fender between vessel and the terminal. He survived, but suffered severe burns and multiple injuries. Unfortunately, our gas engineer was not that lucky. He was consumed by flames and then rushed to the hospital with his critical and severe burns. He was so critically burned that after 5 days, he succumbed to his injuries. We lost him. A life on board was costed and was lost. How could we save him? Becomes the question for the day. A question that hopefully after today's webinar, we know how to answer. How could we save a life? By saying this, I will also now like to welcome Captain Sunil Shukla and Captain Tanuj to talk about their experience in behavioral-based safety on board.
Kritika was saying, see, there in this incident, what we see is a typical safety aspect which was not taken care by. There was a leak. Okay, if there was a leak, we should have taken care of it. But the crew, the gas engineer, did not behave the right way. Maybe the behavior aspect of the safety was not embedded in his mind. He was not trained accordingly. And then we landed up in a situation which took a life. So that is what we are talking about today, and we'll be emphasizing today, gentlemen, that the behavior-based safety is something we have to be there all the time. It is inbuilt, it grows with you. What do you say, Captain Tanuj? You have been managing ships. What says you?
Yes, Captain Sunil, behavior-based safety is very, very important, especially with experience in big ship management companies and crew management companies with large number of seafarers are there to ensure because you're having operations 24/7, 365, so many high-risk operations, and a simple lapse could lead into a major incident. And that is why companies have started for many years now implemented programs like behavior-based safety. Different companies have different concepts to improve the safety culture. Things like stop card, stop work authority, raising near misses, or simple uh, things which could have major repercussions. So it's very important to change the culture, the thought process. Takes time in the maritime industry, but definitely with a lot of efforts, things have improved. And at the same time, we have our guest panelist over here, Captain Pradeep Chawla, who has led the QHSE departments of one of the largest ship management companies. And I would like to welcome Captain Chawla over here to share his insights. I'm sure it'll be good to hear from him how he went about doing behavior-based safety in the company he led. Captain Chawla, welcome, sir, to the webinar.
Tanuj, and hello to everyone attending. Know a lot of you. Good to see you guys on the camera. Uh, yes, in Anglo Eastern too, we had a behavior-based training program. We started with the DuPont Stop program and then changed over to something that was a modified version of our own with some basis of the stop card. Um, the two important factors here looking at this incident, the first one that comes to my mind is what is generally called normalization of deviancy. When something wrong is done on a ship continuously and no one points it out to the person to stop it, it leads to a behavior that this is acceptable. And possibly in this case, that the use of non-spark tools was not done was because they probably had done the same kind of a thing with the same steel tools many times before and nobody pointed it out. So when we want to get a change in behavior, there has to be uh, immediate corrective action when somebody is doing a wrong or unsafe behavior. It's not about doing it, discussing it in the monthly safety meeting. It's got to be immediate so that the person accepts that a mistake was done. And the way to do it is very important also. Quite often, um, I think all of us in life are guilty of just pointing out a fault. And that generally is taken negatively by the seafarer, especially if you do it in front of everybody. So there is a golden rule that when you want to commend somebody, you always do it in front of his colleague so the person feels proud. And when you want to correct somebody, you call him to your cabin and do that one to one because otherwise the behavior changes will not happen. And there are two other factors that I would like to point out. One is trust. Uh, Behavior does not change easily in any situation. I mean, just think about it. For the men folk here or for the female folk, how many times has your wife told you not to come back on Friday with too much of drinking? And you always say you only have two, right? So, I mean, you only had two drinks or one drink, right? So it's not that your behavior is changing just because someone told you to change the behavior. Uh, there has to be a trust within the organization. And the other factor, I mean, why is that trust important? Because if people feel that there is going to be a repercussion by reporting someone's their own unsafe behavior or a colleague's unsafe behavior, then quite likely they're not going to ever do that, never mind how many stop cards or whatever system you introduce, because the trust is not there with the company or with their immediate senior people. And the other one is the empowerment of people. It's nice to say, here is a card, do that. But again, do they feel empowered to do it? So let's say if I'm a Navy and I fill up a stop card or BBS card and I go to the chief officer. But if the reaction from the chief officer is that don't bother with all this, you go first, do the chipping painting or whatever, so then that person is never going to report back to you again ever because you've lost his trust and his empowerment has been snatched away. This is a very common problem that when officers are busy, that they kind of do not give the right importance to a very important program because behaviors can change very quickly. Just a very motivated worker, if they are shouted at in front of their colleagues, can very much turn into a very hostile worker from the next day because they feel insulted about it. So it's a very complex situation. I don't know how much time we have. If there is more time, I can share something of a human performance model on this subject. But if there's no time, we can skip it.
We have time, sir. Everybody is waiting to get such kind of information, especially coming out from you. So we do have that
Oh,
time.
okay.
Kirtika, can you make Captain Chawla the host if you would like to present something?
Yeah, I think looks like I'm allowed to do
Perfect.
the,
Yes, you are coming.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Oh, sorry. Let me get my PowerPoint out. Okay, so I'll first two slides only. This is from 2015, as you can see. So first thing to understand in behavior-based safety is that what we see of a person, the visible behavior, is knowledge and skills. That is known to everybody about how that person does the job or doesn't do the job. But what are their fundamental beliefs, values, or the attitude towards work? This is unknown to people. So I could on my face be very nice to my chief as a chief officer to my captain, but behind the backs I might not be respecting that person, and that discussions only happen over a drink in the smoke room, right? So it's when we are looking at behavior based safety, it's the beliefs and values that we are trying to influence. The definition of safety that I always use is that what do people, or safe behavior is what do people do when they are not being watched? We'll all wear a helmet or a seat belt when we are, in front of the chief officer or when we are driving in front of a police person. But that is not our real behavior. Our real intrinsic behavior is that if we were to sit in a car and tell the driver, don't move till I have put the belt. Why did you move? And as you know, in large companies, the even for something like that, it's a offense that can lead to dismissal from a company. So in Anglo Eastern too, we had certain behaviors for which it was written in the procedures that these would lead to instant termination. But okay. The second thing I would like to quickly share, I won't go through it all, but if you see that the human behavior, the not visible part, is affected by many things. There are certain factors that are related to our behavior based on our individual factors, socioeconomic background, family, religion, education, peers, physical state, emotional state, which can change very quickly, our past experiences. I know Tanuj is very fond of the ABC model, antecedent behavior consequence, Pavlov theory. So that comes with your past experiences, right? And quite often, priorities at that moment also are very important in our behavior at that time. That's the reason why a lot of accidents happen because you're rushing to do the task because your priority at that time is to sail out. But on the other side, which is what I would like to lay more focus on, because the organizational culture quite often leads to the individual behaviors. So if your pay is much lower than in other companies, you are constantly moaning and groaning about it. I'm only just going to do this contract and then I'm changing to company XYZ. A lot of people may not be worried about the pay, but they are looking for their promotions and opportunities for growth. So all of these things, responsibilities, trust shown, respect given, recognition given, people do not leave the company or do not do wrong things. Uh, More often than not, they are driven by their immediate bosses, the captain, chief officer, chief engineer, second engineer on board, or even the bosun might make a difference. So people leave those kind of environments and their behavior are pretty much affected by all of these factors that are there on this slide. I won't go into further detail because I'm eating up time for the other people, so I'll stop sharing. But if people want to have a discussion with me at any time about my experiences, you're more than welcome to contact me directly or through Tanuj anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Pradeep. So, sir, will it be right to sum it up that anybody introducing a behavior-based safety program in his organization, small, medium, large, first the senior management has to believe in it. The directors of the company should have a vision why they need to do it. It should be very clear that tomorrow, even if a question is raised up to his position that he is doing something wrong, and people in his company or when he goes on board a ship, and if he is not following certain protocols, an AV and OS can bring it up to him and he will not mind it. Is that the right approach? And only then it will be a successful model. Otherwise, it's just another paperwork exercise.
I think it's on all levels. Of course, the top people have to believe in it and they have to support it and create an environment that allows this to function. But I think the most critical layer is the middle management. The vessel manager or the auditor who goes on board, that's the most important critical person because the CEOs will always say, be safe, don't do the wrong things, etc. It's written in every policy in every SMS poster, etc. But who actually drives the behavior? Okay, there was another slide that I could have shown. I call it the onion layer of management. So at the core is the seafarer who's behaviors we want to be safe. The first layer of people around him or her, would be the chief officer, captain, or the people on board, the immediate crew who influence their behaviors. The next layer of people is the crewing manager, the vessel manager, and whatever other people who are constantly in touch with the ship, the superintendent, a crewing manager, two being the two most important in a ship management world. And then after that, there is what I call the white space, cyberspace. Above that level are heads of safety, directors, CEO, CO. That whatever those top people are saying disappears in that white space, in the cyberspace, unless the people who are interacting directly with the ship are actually saying the same things what is written in the manuals and what is in the um, your posters, etc. That's how. So it's every layer is important, is what I would like to sum it up. Thank you.
Analyst Captain Srinivas Reddy, General Manager, QHSC Fleet Ship Management, Hong Kong. And he's probably at the center point at the moment, driving quality and safety for a very large ship management company presently. So, Captain Reddy, welcome. Thank you for being a part. And based on this incident, the case study we saw, and what do you feel about it, how we can present it, can you, sir, give us some guidance on this?
Thanks the Stag Marine team, and first of all, my regards and my thanks to also Captain Chawla, who has who's been a guru to all of us in some scale. We've all learned a lot from him. We have somehow been very privileged to have his have his SMS details, and we've all copied and pasted at some point of time. So let's agree that. Thank you very much, sir. It's been truly a pleasure to see you after a long time. Tanuj, I'll not go into the details of the investigation part of it. So I'm just, since it's a behavior-based seminar, so we'll look at only 2 points here. For me, the most important thing is that I take it from Chawla sir's, summary. He summed it very nicely about the leadership and the belief in a particular system. Unless leaders, first of all, it's the first layer is the leadership. While they do not understand or they do not believe that a behavior-based safety system is going to help us, it has got no meaning. So it's top-down approach for me. Once that approach comes in, and now in a company, it could be the CEO, the directors, but on a ship, it is a master, the chief engineer, and the bottom line. The second is the environment. Very important for me. Let's sum it up. Let's take it up to a context of what we do normally. All of us, Indians, like some of us, while in our own country, we have very less respect for our rules. Yeah. Let's again, I'm not generalizing, but we try to cross that red line, cross that red line whenever given a chance, just skip up something. But while we are traveling, we are in other places, we are very, very prompt, we are very, very particular. It could be like in Dubai, you stay in Dubai. So, all our Desi brothers and sisters there, they are very compliant. When it comes to India, we have a certain sense of, the attitude changes. What is changing between that and this? The same individual. It is the environment. So given an environment which is compliant, the behavior model changes. So I think when we look at this has been a classic case of so many things going wrong. While we can go into the details of it. So I think at this point of time, all major ship management companies, owners, operators, we have had fantastic SMS, right? SMS have come to a stage where there's not much we can do about it. The only variable that we are talking now is about human behavior. SIRE 2.0, after a very long time, has recognized this and named it as people. Right? So we all need to understand that we are at a very critical juncture wherein attitude plays a very, very important role. The youngsters who are listening to this, who are aspiring to be leaders tomorrow, they will have to bring in a sense of responsibility, a sense of belongingness. The buddy cultures will have to come back again. You'll have to watch that junior. You'll have to watch as a master. You'll have to watch that chief officer. Chawla Saab has been very fortunate that he's been in times where, their leadership was not questioned at all. We because they gave us a lot of right in the right time. We could look up to them, we could see them, they could, anytime we could pull that example and, go back to our juniors. But I think that is also a case where everything is a little bit missing. So anyhow, I leave it there, but I think it's a good point to ponder about. We will have a lot of discussions, I think, in the next few minutes as well. So thank you very much, Tanuj, again for your time, and thanks to the Stag Marine team. Yeah, thank you so much.
Reddy, thank you so much for your insights on it. And I only hope that, in your position, handling 600 plus vessels, 20,000 seafarers, I'm sure it's a very, very difficult task to achieve to ensure safety every minute happening there. So well done, sir, for doing your job very well. And I'm sure it's challenging, but great, great work. So, well, this is what we have discussed on behavior-based safety. Captain Sunil would like to take it up the next session on mental wellness, because since we have been, this session divides into two parts. So we discussed about behavior-based safety. We'll go up to the next session now.
Be sharing my screen to share my presentation with all of you. Okay. So today, again, number one, we will be trying to understand what is behavioral-based safety, why it is relevant to maritime industry, what is the ABC model in our behavioral-based safety, what are the things that we can do to improve safety and improve the overall safety of our crew members to reduce the accidents that are taking place on board. So let's start with what it is. BBS is a proactive safety management approach that emphasizes the systematic observation and reinforcement of safe behaviors while aiming to reduce risks actions within the workplace. Too heavy? Too difficult? But what it is, what it actually means. In maritime industry, BBS involves crew members, how Captain Chawla and Captain Reddy said, taking responsibility of their own safety, taking responsibility of safeties of their colleagues, ensuring that unsafe acts and conditions are, number one, identified, number two, reported, and number three, again, addressed promptly. Not once in a month, but let's address these safety concerns promptly. Now, in fact, Captain Chawla shared a very nice slide regarding this particular thing, that let's not blame the person. Let's understand why this behavior occurred. Now, there are multiple things that affect us. How Captain pinpointed, it can be our socioeconomic background, our childhood experiences, our experiences when we joined as a cadet, or even the job factors, how much are we sleeping, what is our emotional state. And again, it keeps on changing. So let's understand how humans behave. Why do we behave like this? And sometimes it is the conditions that lead to an unsafe behavior or an act, rather than just blaming the person, just blaming the rank. I'm sure Captain Shukla has something to say here.
And like you were saying, Kritika, we also notice there's a culture which comes with the nationality also. When we have particular type of crew, sometime you tend to think, perception is that certain crews, certain cultures, certain the domino effect that we call they do fall into that behavior pattern. And that's why when we want to talk about behavior safety, certain aspects always come to your mind. Like I remember my bosun who was there. Every time when we used to knock off for the day, he used to walk from forward to aft, checking all the lashings, closing all the doors. And we were sure that he's taking care. So that's what his behavior. Now, come another day, you go on to another section, the bosun might say, "Sir, I don't know, I never done it before." So that is where behavior, like you say, is a social factor, organizational factor, cultural factor, personal factor. There's so many factors, right, Kritika?
Yes, sir. Great. I think someone is on mute. I will just request Mr. Gupta to mute yourself.
I'd take care of that. Don't worry. Ranjan is there. Rajan is there.
Yes.
Who's not muted.
Captain was talking about, it is also in our culture. So culture plays an important role. Our Captain Reddy said it nicely that, okay, when we are in Delhi, when we are in India, we might break some rules, but the same they see people will go to other countries and follow their culture. Why? Because that is what they're seeing there. The consequences, again, the penalties are also high, which we will be talking about in our things. But coming back to what affects us, it can be the knowledge, it can be our experience, the stress we are going through, the workload we have, our own emotions, our personal life, our life on shore ends up affecting how we behave. Now, let's try to further understand what ABC model talks about. Now, ABC basically tries to understand what influences behavior. Why do we act like this? What happens before a behavior? What happens after behavior? Does it influence the behavior? So let's now take an example to further understand it in a better way. Now, A stands for antecedents. This is what happens before behavior. What triggers a behavior? So for this, I'll be taking smoking on board as an example. Let's say a seafarer is feeling stressed, right? We all have felt stressed on shore or even on sea, right? So
Yes.
the seafarer is feeling stressed during a long shift and seeing others smoking on deck. There is a clear sign of no smoking sign near the fuel storage, but no one is enforcing the rule. What can be the action? There can be a safe or an unsafe action. So that becomes our behavior, the action taken. Safe behavior could have been the seafarer follows the safety rules, does not smoke in the undesignated area. In fact, inform and alert his crew members that, listen, I don't think this is a safe area to smoke. And what would happen in unsafe behavior? The seafarer ignores the warning signs and smokes near the flammable cargo. Now, because we had two different type of actions, that is our behavior, there can be different consequences to it. Number one, let's say the seafarer actually did not smoke. He had the positive, safe behavior. The captain praises. So this is where again Captain Chawla and Captain Reddy said that recognize good behavior. So the captain praises the crew for following safety rules and reinforcing good habits rather than ignoring it. What would have been a negative consequence of the unsafe behavior? A spark from the cigarette would have ignited fumes, causing fire and endangering the entire crew. So this is what ABC model is. It talks about what happens before and behavior, what happens after behavior. It depends on a lot of times ABC model especially focuses on the consequences. So we are very quick to scold someone who has done something wrong, right? Oh, you did not do this. This is wrong way of doing. But how many times are we actually praising the good things? How many times are we actually recognizing the work done, the good work done, the safe behavior that is taking place? But now, how can we improve it? What can be done to improve it? I'm very grateful to both the panelists of discussing, in fact, about the culture, the environment on board. So number one, let's not be a safety cop. Let's not only scold when you see something going wrong. Let's be a safety leader. Let's show them, okay, what is a better way of doing it? How could it be done in a different way? Educate that, oh, by doing this, you're not only putting yourself at risk, but you're putting the entire crew member on risk. Similarly, let's have like safety briefings, not once in a month. Let's do it alternatively. Let's make sure that we are talking about safety. And very well said again by our panelists. Let's report the near misses. Near misses are not to be like a blame game for someone. They're supposed to be a way how we can learn from our mistakes. A near miss near miss reported by you can save a life. I hope you understand like that also. And this is where again the culture also comes. Again, the chief officer can be busy. Oh, you do not do this. How captain said, go and complete your work first. What will happen? Negative consequence. He was not praised, he was scolded. What will happen? He will not report the near miss again. He will think, oh, people don't care. People don't believe about safety on this vessel. Applying our ABC model in BBS, let's observe, let's take a look. Let's look at the triggers, let's look at the actions. So the seniors, in fact, look how the daily practices are taking place. Are they wearing proper wearing proper equipments? Just a second. Are they wearing proper equipments? Again, how sir said, not only when they are being watched, but what is the culture? Are they overall wearing their safety gears? At the same time, for example, during a bunkering operation, observe whether the crew members are actually following the correct valve lineup procedures or they're actually properly using their PPE kits. Once you observe, once you have these actions and behavior written down, now let's try to improve it. Let's figure out where what went wrong. So, sure. So let's be specific. Let's focus on the behavior, but not on the person. Offer alternatives. Show the correct way of doing it. So many times my seniors, they come, they will even show me how to use certain technology. Rather than just scolding, let's hold hands at times. Let's give the new joinee 5 extra minutes. Make sure that he survives. We also come to our support. How Captain Reddy mentioned, let's bring back the buddy system. When a new cadet, when a new joinee is coming, let's pair them up with a senior experienced officer on board so that they can have the new joinee also has someone to talk to. They are not just left alone on this big vessel. And then there is mentoring going on side by side. Give feedback. I completely understand vessels, you guys are running on very high and risk operations. Sometimes the temperature can be high and you might end up scolding someone. It's okay. Next day, approach. Tell them that, listen, your behavior was unsafe. And what would have been the consequence? Again, coming back to the smoking example. You smoking could have caused our vessel, could have caused 19 to 22 lives on board. Training goes a long way, acquiring knowledge, repetitive training, not only doing trainings for compliance, but actually trying to give knowledge and take knowledge from the experts. We all know how, Captain Reddy, you mentioned that SIRE 2.0 finally talks about human element. It talks about that how humans are also affected by multiple things. We can be under stress, we can be tired. What can we do to help them out? Just a second.
And let's ask them how they motivate their crew on board. There's so many, like Captain Tanuj mentioned, 600 plus ship with Captain Reddy and Captain Chawla already handling one of the biggest. And he already, yes, when I spoke to him last, he was into making another program where he's talking about motivating and collecting the observations. So can we hear something from them? Captain Chawla, how do you motivate the crew on board? How do you motivate the persons for a behavior change?
I think pretty much in the hands of the master chief engineer and senior management on board. The first of all, from the office side, we have to create an ecosystem and environment where we encourage reporting, we encourage open discussions. On what Kritika was saying about going back the next day, etc., one small amendment I would like to suggest is that for behavior based safety to be successful, it is not about telling someone that what they were doing was wrong. It's to get them to accept that what they were doing was wrong. So the conversation that we do during behavior-based safety interventions, see, typically the most of the cards they work in two ways. One is that, and if you go back to stop, it's pretty much one of the problems with that card. So when people are kind of told that they are not doing something correct, that's like giving them a red card in football. That's kind of
Mhm.
saying that, okay, you did something wrong. But that does not bring about a good culture in the company. What needs to be done, so say if we are watching someone doing something unsafe, say they are, not wearing a safety harness while working at a height, etc. The way to do it is to stop them and then have a very nice, polite conversation with them to say, why do you think I stopped you from working? Uh, Sir, I don't know. Do you think that you were having the correct PPE to save yourself in case what could go wrong with you? And then you slowly guide that person into accepting and believing that, yes, I was doing something wrong, which was not good for my own safety. And getting their concluding part should always be like a handshake, a promise with them that, okay, I will look after myself in more in the future, and I understand that you are not scolding me, but you are doing this for my sake. So that is the way to encourage, and captains and officers on board, bosuns on board, they need to be trained for this. Our natural response is what is called, I guess psychologists call like a mother and child relationship, parent child relationship. We tend to typically say, don't do that, if you do that, this will be the consequence. Won't get a chocolate, won't get dessert, a phone will be taken away. For your teenagers today, the biggest punishment is not about dessert, but it's more about if I'll take your phone away. But that is by punishment. That is not changing their permanent behavior. If in my days, if we were told not to read comics, we would hide the comics inside our textbook and then read them, right? But if the explanation given is in a reasonable way. One of the mistakes that we always do, especially in parenting, is treating children as a child. When you treat children as a adult, the response is very much different. It's got to be, especially with teenagers. I mean, those of you who have teenage sons or daughters, you will chime with that yes, oh my God, it's so difficult to handle them, right? So, but we forget that we are patient at home with our children, but we forget that when we are on the ship and it becomes like a hierarchy and, army kind of a rule. And there are reasons why merchant navy is similar to an army or a naval force, because of the past in the way training was done in our industry. They used to be part of the same academy, both naval and merchant marine. And those wrong habits have persisted in our industry. So now we need to learn this new way of treating the officers as adults and having a polite conversation with them about safety. Behavior based safety is all about having safety conversations. If you Google as much as you want on or ask artificial intelligence bots, you will always see that it's all about having a safety conversation. The more conversations you have about safety, there's another rule about it. What gets appreciated gets repeated. So it's from a book called of Tim Autry, I think 6 Hour Safety Culture is the name of the book, I think. So he's right. In the nuclear industry and aviation industry, they understood this long time ago. In our industry, we are in the beginning infancy of behavior-based safety programs. And in some companies, sorry to say, but it still doesn't exist so much in the dry cargo world as it is beginning to come into force in the LNG, LPG, and oil chemical sectors. But it's very rarely that you will find companies who are running both tankers and dry cargo, they will have the same program. But a lot of the dry cargo world has not yet kind of woken up to safety 2.0. I would also encourage everyone to read this OCIMF paper on Safety 2.0. I don't remember the exact title of it. Maybe Tanuj might know, but there is an 8-page paper on Safety 2.0, which is an absolutely wonderfully written paper by OCIMF. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And as I picked up, and this is what I wanted to bring up, we're always talking about stop card, something going wrong, reprimanding, advising. How many times do we appreciate when the seafarers do something good? Very less. Why don't, instead of having only a stop card, why don't we have a good card? Very
I
seldom, very few places we
no.
have seen it in parts. What was observed? Something wrong, you put there's a near
Oh,
missing point that full. When something is
act,
good, you get one or two in the whole month, right? So,
yeah, actually, in the Anglo-Eastern behavior-based safety program, it is mandatory to write what was being done correctly so that the appreciation and awards were given for appreciating people who are doing things the right way. In a good behavior-based safety program, you should be getting 95% at least as safeguards and
safeguards.
5% as unsafe
Safeguards.
cards.
Yep.
That's when your BBS program is successful. And one other thing with respect to that, that in the oil major world also now, if you look at the first whatever 100, 150 SIRE 2.0 inspections that have been carried out,
Right.
I think it's 7% or 9% only of good observations
Good
by SIRE
observations. Again,
inspectors. So if there are any SIRE inspectors in this forum, please note that that is, discouraging to people. There should be more thing. And I've said this in many public forums. I've also said this in a PSC seminar with AMSA that, how about you guys coming and really sometimes giving an appreciation note instead of only giving observations. And the only people who have listened or done something about it is the US Coast Guard. Some of them, they do give good comments in the PSC reports. And I remember that in Anglo, we used to be very proud of the ones that where the captain got a good comment rather than an observation from the PSC. As far as I know, only US Coast Guard does that sometimes.
that's
Thank
perfect,
you.
perfectly said. And for this, I would like to bring in Captain Reddy. Sir, how are you motivating the crew? What is your distinguishing factor between unsafe and safe acts? How are you promoting good practices in the company so that, as Captain Chawla says, if you something good, it gets repeated and improves the safety culture?
Thanks, Anuj. So two things that I would like to highlight. Monetary benefits, as Captain, just to take it from Captain Chawla, that while praising them or sending a note of appreciation, that is, of course, makes a lot of difference. But there is also a monetary component in fleet, which we do this. There's a $200 bonus that we give over and above, and this is only related to our SafeR program, which is the BBS program that we have. Again, I'm not an advocate of monetary benefits, but if it helps, I'm for it. So let me put it this way. Coming back to the second point about how are these safety cards being evaluated? Like, we have 4 cards in fleet, 3 of them being the positive cards and one the red card, which is the stop work card. So the 3 of them persistently, while this discussion was on, we made sure that the positive part has to be highlighted. It has to be brought about, because what runs, so we all hear about this, that addiction, we say that, okay, this is addictive and that is addictive, and we all talk about negative. It could be, it could be things like drugs or verbal or physical abuses. But let us also take note that positive behavior is as addictive as negative behavior, in fact more. So we have seen persistently in our little bit of research that we have done, that masters who have had who are good leaders, who are trained to a particular program. We've now undertaking a program wherein some of our masters are being led through a psychometric evaluation, and they've been trained on specifics about behavior based safety, and those people have been able to replicate those learnings on board. Their idea of talking, their idea of dealing with precarious situations, their idea of handling crew, especially the juniors. Again, to take it from where Chawla Sahab said about logic, the youngsters nowadays all want logic. They do not They all want to go by an explanation. You have to give them a reasoning for what is right and what is not. So all of this somewhere down the line has also to do with education. And I think people like Ms. Chopra come in very handy here, because their skill about psychiatric evaluation play a lot of role, because times and situations are changing now. So I think it has to be a holistic approach. If I would like to summarize, there has to be trust, there has to be belief in a particular system, and then we can go about bringing in behavior-based safety. Again, I think yesterday we were discussing, to make anything, to look for human elements, we have to make the whole system human. So I think, again, going back to that favorite movie of mine, Sully, I take that from there, that we have to look at people in a very centric manner. While all this noise about behavior-based safety and you fall, any program that I attend now with oil majors, they only show you what is falling, what is crumbling, what is broken, a bone here, a cut there. It is very, very, it's aghast, and it is very, very, demotivating, if I may say that. So I think it's for all of us in the industry that we also need to showcase something which we have been doing so elegantly with such professional finish. The whole world was stopped in COVID. Only we guys ran the whole world. So let's take credit for that. I think Chawla sir would agree with me on this. So what we are doing right has to be brought up. And industry forums like this will also have to make sure that we are projected as saviors in the larger context. Last week, we were having an intervention with one of our oil majors. And I've been meeting this oil major for like 5 years now. And every time he comes, he will give me 7 observations, 8 observations. And now, last time he told me that, okay, the SMS has to be done. I said, you are been looking at this system for goddamn 10 years. How is it that after 10 years, you realize that there is a gap in the system? So again, it is not, the attitude has been about, sorry, but the word is fault finding to a larger extent, and that has to change. For all of us, we, being as managers, as owners, as operators, seafarers, all of us, at some point we're doing that. We will also have to, understand that there's only so much that can be done in the current context. We will have to, start looking at things in a black and white manner. There's no more gray now in the industry. We will have to stand up for ourselves. We'll have to stand up again. For that, we will have to be top notch. We will have to be a step ahead in our game. So to trying to do whatever we can in the best possible manner, and of course in the permitted rules and regulations that we have. So yeah, thanks very much, Tanuj. I think that's I have to make an exit here. Thanks for the time and opportunity. And again, my thanks to Chawla sir for all his inputs, and to all the Stag Marine team. I look forward to seeing you again. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your insights. It was very insightful, and wish you all the very best in the role you carry out. I'm sure you're busy to continue what you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Captain Reddy.
Thank you, Captain Reddy.
And that also, I'm trying to think, like we have been sailing in the past, and everybody here, most of us are sailing. How do we transmit this idea of positive behavior to the crew? Are we having enough training, or how do we transmit them to the person who's actually on the scene? Captain Tanuj?
Yes, Captain Sunil.
I said, how do we transmit this idea to the person who's actually on the scene? Are we doing enough training on that, do you think?
Right. A lot of training is being done, been for many years. Great training establishments, whether in India, it could be the Dufferin or the DMAT. Over the years, were excellent training institutions, great legacies. After that, ship management companies came up with their own training academies. Some very high standards, like Captain Chawla set up with Emma. I've been talking to him about him, what all systems he brought in, and what difference it has made to Anglo-Eastern, that the cadets now have transitioned into being their master or chief engineers, and maybe probably moving ashore, and what he does presently on training. So Captain Pradeep, if you could tell us about your insights on training, on behavior-based safety being a very generic topic, but what are you doing on training and what are your future plans? What have you done in the past? And what should we do to improve the training for seafarers? Because I think it's even SIRE 2.0, right ship. Now it's all coming down to back to training. We need to train people back, and this is an industry which is the oldest in the world, and we are going back to, oh, we are not very well trained. So, sir, your insights on this?
We also have a video from
Yeah.
Penpal, which
So we'll ask
Kritika will
Captain Sir.
be screening now, and then we can take from Captain Chawla.
Pradeep, can we play the video now and then you will take it up after that?
Yeah, sure. That's a 1 minute thing about what I do now.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Captain Chawla, I have the video on standby. If you will like, I can present it.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah.
It'll save me from some talking.
Yes. There you go. I'll just play it.
Audio,
Social
ma'am?
media has changed our lives. We absorb information from headlines, YouTube videos, and applications like WhatsApp and Instagram. The way we learn has changed. The mobile phone has become an indispensable part of our daily life. We at Marine Pals have embraced this evolution, adapting to the changing times. Our mission is to prevent harm to people, the environment, cargo, and ships through innovative learning and training for seafarers. We harness the power of microlearning, delivering focused, bite-sized knowledge for modern minds. We're also transforming education through games for learning, turning learning into an engaging adventure. As pioneers in gamification and microlearning in the maritime industry, we are at the forefront of innovation. You can immerse yourself in our virtual reality programs and even learn from our 3D videos on your phone. We are proud to be recognized as the first maritime training provider to receive the prestigious Certificate of Innovation from Class NK. Backed with over 400 years of combined experience in safety and training, our approach sets a new standard. Embrace the future of maritime training with us. Innovate, engage, and stay safe.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for playing that. It saves me the whole list of things. So basically, my experience was that in my last 3 or 4 years before retirement, I was getting quite frustrated that quite a few people on board now do not read anything that you send. So if you send a loss prevention bulletin from a PNI club, and after 1 month, an auditor goes on board and tries to see how much of it has been absorbed or tries to have a discussion about it, 9 out of 10 times or 8 out of 10 times, it would be that people had not yet read it even after a month. So that led me to do research with a lot of universities in the US and all over the world, actually, that what is the future of learning going to be like? So there are three things that we ended up on focusing on: micro learning or short bite-sized learning, because people don't like the long formats. And as an example, if you see, even 6 years ago, TED Talks was a very popular platform. But today, if you ask a 18-year-old what is TED Talks, quite likely they are not likely to know. It's also like if you are still on Facebook, then you are the parents' generation and not the young generation. You need to be on Instagram Reels, and you need to be on YouTube Shorts, and you need to be maybe on Truth Social in America. So by learning, so we focused on three areas: micro learning or bite-sized learning. Statistically, in tests in the education world, they say that micro learning is 20% more effective than other forms of learning. The second one is gamification, because when we are actually playing a game, we are absorbing learning without really thinking that we are doing training. A lot of universities, especially in the business universities, the high-end universities, they use this role play kind of thing. So you are given, for example, some monopoly money, and you are told at the beginning of the term that, go invest in stocks. manage your portfolio, and at the end of 3 months, 6 months, whatever in the course, the teacher will compare, whose strategies have actually led to making more money or lost money. So that's gamification of learning. And the third pillar is virtual reality. Mark Zuckerberg believes very strongly in it. The Meta company and the VR glasses. Personally, I believe that that is also in the infancy of the education world because it's expensive to create the 3D models, etc. So, but it has a lot of potential. I think over the next 10 years, we're going to see a lot of the training transferring to virtual reality. So in our company, we call it the digital twin training, piggybacking on what was formed in our industry by DNV. So when you recreate the exact ship in the immersive environment of virtual reality, you are giving the student an ability to actually be there without being there. So I mean, if the deck officers or engineers on the group, if you remember the first time you went into a four peak tank, you really could not relate it to what was taught in the engineering drawing class or in the ship construction class, right? I mean, we were drawing 2D and 3D sketches of web frames and distance between frames and all that. In the Anglo Eastern Academy, what we introduced was we had a 3D mod scan of the four-peak tank. We would give them the glasses, and after the ship construction class, they would actually walk around in the four-peak tank. And so the concepts of what is a web frame, what's a lightning hole. I mean, first of all, that terminology, right? Lightning hole. To ask a 18-year-old from a school, what do you think is a lightning hole? He's never going to say what we are teaching him in ship construction, right? So the way we learn has to change. So to answer Tanuj's question about what can we do in the future, we need to accept that the pace of change in the industry has never been so fast as it is today. We got alternative fuels, we got digitalization, we got the road to mass ships or autonomous ships in the future. There is a explosion of information. I mean, engines were just heavy fuel oil, and now whether the engine is LNG or methanol or biofuel or future ammonia, hydrogen, I mean, every engineer is going to have to learn a new thing before every ship practically, right? Because he could be on different types of ships. So the pace of change is going to be very high, and we all need to adapt ourselves into learning quickly through what is generally called blended learning. So we will still have classrooms, we will still have teachers, I am a strong believer also of simulators, ship handling, cargo handling simulators, etc. But the future of what every company needs to do now is to look at how much of it should be classroom based, how much of it should be simulator. I would certainly say that the ship handling course should be 2 weeks, not 1 week. And in Anglo, we had introduced actually 3 weeks at three different levels because 1 week is just not enough on that simulator. Similarly, we will also need to adapt these kind of micro learning, gamification, virtual reality, and now generative AI. I mean, I'm sure everybody in this room would have, on this virtual room, would have tried out, artificial intelligence. So, what is the point of a examination system that is asking you to by heart some knowledge and go and write it down in the examination? That's a lousy way to assess people for the future. What we need to assess them is on their ability to apply that knowledge. And if anybody is interested, we have created a game for finding PSC deficiencies. That's what you apply your knowledge to. You can know all the regulations in the world from every Solas Marple book, but if you're walking around on the ship and you're walking past a defect, not recognizing it, not doing anything about it, then that person has failed as an officer, right? So that's how I believe the future of training will be. Thank you for allowing me to say that, Tanuj. I mean, sorry for that 1 minute clip, but for a commercial kind of a thing. But
Agreed.
I thought it was easier to explain that in 1 minute rather than talk for, I can talk a whole day. As people who know me, they know that I can talk all day long on training. So Thank
Fully
you.
agreed, sir. Really appreciate your efforts, what we have done in MR. You contributed to this industry for such a long period of time. People have learned, and now also very, very highly appreciated that you have moved to what is being the future, whereas even today's generation like us, we are still dwelling into the present, and you're already thinking of VR, AI, and how that should be applied. So that shows your farsightedness on training, and we wish you all the very best with Marine Pal, sir. And
Thank you.
hopefully the knowledge should keep shining on us. As I remember attending one of your seminars, and you talked about 24,000 pages of regulations,
Yeah.
regulatory books which seafarers have to go through. I hopefully with micro learning that can reduce down to 24 now, So,
80% of what we write in IMO regulations is not required for the seafarer. We
100%
overload
agreed.
information to the seafarer.
And information overload, the word is setting the tone right for the next session for mental wellness, which is a very well known topic. We have been going through it, and now it's highlighted by even industry, port state controls. AMSA is looking for you to even get trained. So this is the time we get into the session for mental wellness to talk about it by Kirtika and Captain Shukla, who are trained psychologists, to share a little bit with our guests today on this webinar. And then Captain Chawla will come to you to speak on mental wellness after they have finished.
Senior positions.
So, before we begin, let's understand what mental health is. We have been throwing this particular word in maritime industry recently, but sometimes are we doing it for compliance, or we actually doing it to understand how humans behave, how mental health affects us? So understanding that, let's say that we all have physical health, right? We all take care of our physical body, whether it is having good food, having good sleep. Similarly, we all have mental health. It's a part of everyone. It is not a sign of weakness. And it is definitely not something which is all in your head. It is, in fact, something that you can look after. It's very real, it's very complex. Very often you hear people saying, oh, it's okay if you're snap, just snap out of it. It's okay, this thing has happened with us also. Oh, in our time, this used to happen, no one used to care. But now, as we know, the world is changing. Let's educate ourselves of what exactly it is. It is definitely not something that you can snap out of. It is not always negative, but it is definitely something important. It is not something that you should be ashamed of. We all must have broken our bone once upon a time, right? We all have had fractures. Doesn't mean that we need to be embarrassed or ashamed of it, or that means we are weak. It's just a part of our health. And one thing that I definitely feel trumps over physical health on mental health is it is something that you can change. In physical health, you often get diabetes. It's very difficult to reverse diabetes. But when it comes to mental health, let's say, unfortunately, if you're a patient of, let's say, major depressive disorder, doesn't mean that you will be in depression 5 years also. Now it's just a tag that is assigned to you, a diagnosis that is assigned to you. You can look after and you can change it. There are definitely number of things that we can do to improve our mental health, and this particular picture really tries to sum it up. Again, often we run towards the negative emotion, glasses half empty or glasses half full. Let's look forward to the positive emotion. I really appreciate how Captain Reddy also mentioned during COVID, everything was on standstill except the maritime industry. Did we appreciate ourselves? Did we give kudos to ourselves? How often do we pat our own back? How often do we appreciate each other? We clap for each other. Let's promote that positive emotion. Let's get engaged in the work we are doing. Go back to the day, why did you join maritime industry? It is also linked with the meaning. And yes, I know a lot of seafarers will be like, oh, ma'am, you get exposure, you get good money. I often like to tell them, why are you earning money? You're earning money to take care of your family, to give support to your family members, to make sure that maybe something that you did not have, you're able to provide that to your children. So, on your hard days, on the days where you're not feeling very good, go back to the day you joined Maritime. Go back to your first day as a cadet on vessel. And now look at you. You are second engineer, you're a chief engineer, you're the captain of the ship. We all are human beings. Human beings are social beings. Our relationships are very important. Let's invest in our relationships. Let's have the buddy system. Let's again, use of phone is coming on vessels also, due to which a lot of times seafarers will grab their phone and run towards their cabin when they have break time. Why not come to the mess and talk to each other? I remember Captain Tanuj used to tell me that back in their time, they used to watch movies together. Let's try to bring back that culture. Let captains, seniors talk about your golden era days. Try to get cadets out of their cabin. Do something together. Invest in your relationships. Because guess what? If you are not feeling good, if something goes wrong, who is the person who is near you? Is it your chief officer or your wife back at shore? The chief officer, right? So, this is how important your connections are with them. Resilience is something which is very much there in all our seafarers. This is something that I will really like to study more upon, that how resilient seafarers are. They bounce back no matter what the world, the weather, the shore people have to throw at them. They bounce back. I can see that Captain Shukla will like to add something
Yeah,
here.
especially all of us, here you see, we all have seen rough weather days, and we go through wind force 8, 9, maybe rougher weather, and 2 days of rough weather, and we get over it. We have come back to normal, right? And that is what is resilient. There can be good days, there will be bad days. So if the going is good, don't worry, enjoy the going. And if it is bad, sometimes have hope, have trust that will be better tomorrow. And that is what resilient we talk about. It's very important to be resilient, very important. Other things also, resilient in shippies, I see excellently well, ma'am. Shippies are so well resilient, they really outperform everybody. Otherwise, they will be shattered, if they don't have that. So that is one good thing. What next, ma'am?
I have my last slide, which talks
Okay.
about how can we improve our resilience, and at the same time, how can we improve our mental health. After this, I will definitely want Captain Chawla to share his insights. These are some tricks and tips from my side. Zooming into, let's set some realistic goals. We all want to be a senior management, but we all know it's a long process. Let's not get disheartened. I often share this example. If I set a goal of losing 20 kgs by next week, that will not be possible, right? What will happen after a week? I will feel sad about myself. So let's set realistic goals. Let's plan how we can work towards our goal. Learning from our mistake is something very important. We all make mistakes. Sometimes it's the circumstances, our own lack of knowledge, but let's not be ashamed. Let's learn from it. I often tell, in fact, the junior members that learn what your seniors are doing, observe what they're doing. Let's not learn from our own mistakes, but also let's learn from other people. Right? Accepting what is your own strength and what is your weakness, getting trained in it, accepting that, yes, this is where I might need to learn a little more. Ask around, learn from your seniors. We try to avoid a problem. Let's not avoid, let's take it as a challenge. Let's brainstorm during your toolboxes meeting. In fact, this is one suggestion I would like to give everyone. When there's a critical operation taking place, let's say today you had a critical operation, something went wrong. Next day or next meeting or within some time, discuss, brainstorm, all acted as a captain. What are the other things that could have been done? Let's brainstorm. Let's get everyone on the same page. Give the understanding to the juniors also that what high pressure seniors work around. And the juniors can also feel a little more independent that, okay, this is how I would have worked on it. Teamwork goes a big way. Again, lastly, by saying this, take care of yourself, communicate about your emotions. Talking about your emotions, being aware about your emotions is something very important. Spend time with your crew members. Just let not them be called out only by their rank, but also by their name. Right? By saying this, I will love to hear from Captain Shukla on this, leading
Yeah,
to
yeah.
then.
See, that mental wellness on the ships is all the more important now, which was there earlier. The world is changed. We come to social media, we come to internet on board. We are getting cut off from the real world, virtual reality. And during this, there are times when people get into the negative side of it. So what we need to do is connect to each other, use the social media as an advantage, and keep ourselves on the high model. We know we are lonely at sea. There are no shore leaves there. Things have changed. The world has become very demanding. We know that. But how can we take care of them? By helping each other. By, like Captain Chawla was talking about, gamifying, learning, CBDs, the other side of advantage of the internet, and keeping our resilient always there. Without that, it will be difficult. So what we talk about as being mental well-being is keeping you cool. The basic spiritual thing we talk about. Sometimes there are four types of it: EQ, CQ, spiritual well-being is also there. Whichever way you suits you, and you get your comfort and you get your feel-good factor. Get into it. Don't get scum to the things. If there's some negativity on board, talk positive, be positive, share each other. So, Captain Chawla, we come back to you again, sir. How you tackle these issues? Senior positions.
Maybe I think rather than give my advice, I would like to talk a little bit more about the overall aspect in the industry. I think in the last, let's say, 3 to 4 years, a large number of consultants, armchair experts have come up advising people, our seafarers, about mental wellness and health. It's almost as if the ships are being run by all people who are in depression and committing suicide. No, the seafarers know they if you look back in our days, we were sailing 12 to 13 months at a time sometimes, or at least 9 months, then came to 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, slowly. So we were able to take care of our mental health even at 12 months sailing. We didn't have letters for 3 months, 4 months. We still managed with, without the internet that we have today, where we are fighting about how much data is the company giving. The real problems in our industry with respect to mental health is that there needs to be a major change in the way companies think about it. So, part of the problem is that seafaring is now a contractual job in most of the companies. Very few companies give permanent full time employment. So, the over the years, what has happened is that ship owners, managers were also in majority of the companies treating the people as contractual workers without really investing much um, into their overall wellness. So if you take a business that is a typical family business, small business, 15, 20 employees, or a lot of the Greek companies where the master used to have a shareholding also in the ship. If you take that kind of a model, typically the owner of the company or the senior people were in daily touch with their employees, and hence they shared the ups and downs or the emotional journey of their employees. When you come to very large organizations and contractual jobs, that connection gets lost. So the
Right.
challenge for a large company, especially, is that how do we stay in touch with our people on an emotional level? Not about just giving them the salary and looking after and say, oh, we cover insurance for you, we do this for you, we don't do that for you. So that genuine empathy is required, and that is missing in a lot of our parts of our industry. And seafarers are not stupid. They don't need armchair experts to come and tell them about their wellness. They are smart people, and they look at the actions of a company and not the words. The words, every company now has wonderful policies, wonderful, you know, programs that they have rolled out for the wellness of the people. It's not like the companies were not doing these things before, but it's become a norm now to talk a lot about it rather than actually be genuinely empathetic. If you For those of you who are in the recruitment industry, I mean,
Mhm.
look at it honestly and say, what really happens to a seafarer if they sign off on the grounds of mental health? How are they then treated in the job market? My knowledge says that it's a big problem in the industry. And while I understand both sides of the story, that the recruitment agent or a company is worried about what will happen if that person has a mental health issue on the next ship and it turns to a depression or a suicide, then the people in the office are going to be questioned about why did you allow this person to go back to sea. So typical journey of a person who signs off on medical grounds of mental health, it means that he becomes a untouchable, to use a word. No crewing agent wants to then recruit them. And even if the best of the companies, they undergo 2 or 3 psychological evaluations, and even then it takes a long time for them to get a job, typically as much as 1 year is what I know. So the unions, the ITF, and the regulatory framework is also not helping it. The reality is that the PMI clubs don't have a problem that if a doctor has certified somebody, like Kritika was saying, it's not like if you were in depression, you will always live in depression, like cardiac disease or diabetes. So the thing that needs to change in the industry is to have that genuine empathy and look at mental illness as just another illness, no different from a broken arm, broken leg, or high blood pressure or cardiac disease. The ILO medical guidelines do not say anything that if somebody signed off because for depression that they are not fit for sea anymore. They do say about certain other medical, physical issues,
Condition.
but they are very silent about mental issues. And the ILO guidelines probably needs to be revised in order to do that. The advice coming out from the International Maritime Health Association, the World Medical Guide, all of these need to be revised to accept that a human being can have a mental health issue like they have a physical health issue. So at the moment, our industry is really not doing much on it. I'm not saying that they are not take on board the seriousness of being responsible as a company for the mental health of the people on their ships. If you look at the newspapers in the maritime industry, every week there is something about abandoned seafarers, people not getting their food on board or salary on board, lousy mattresses, poor living conditions. We signed the MLC document years ago, right? But how many companies would even change a mattress if they are, you know, told that, okay,
Absolutely.
this 10-year-old mattress is sagging like a hammock, I need to change.
Right.
it's a difficult situation even to get that replaced in many of the companies. So forget about the top 10% of the companies, whether owner manage ships or ship manager manage ships. The top 10% or 20% will do that. But when we talk about standards in our industry, we need to look at the bottom 20%. What's the bare minimum in the industry? And that is one of the reasons why people then don't like to come out to sea in from many
Abs-
countries, because they don't look at all of these issues are not looked at in our industry. So I think that's a pretty long monologue. I'm happy to take questions, but I think I'll stop talking now.
Right. So
and that
just
is
just to sum it up, in the recent past, even after MLC, which came in force in 2013, we have been all running around to get it fixed. Initially, it was taken very positively. Yes, a lot of hard work to get done. But don't you think it has got dissolved somewhere again? It's just a paperwork exercise. Owners, people are struggling to even get the minimum ILO standard wages for people in the recent past, in the last 3 years, because of geopolitical tensions, the dark fleet, the gray fleet has come out. What's happening about safety and MNC on these ships? And there is a large part which is still happening. And you may be fine, you may be in the top 20, but these bottom 20 are moving also. And tomorrow you could have incidents by colliding with these kind of ships because people on these ships are not trained or not happy. So
Okay,
what is
first,
government? What is the regulatory bodies actually doing rather than always the buck stops at the seafarer, sir? Always, it is always there, stopping at the seafarer. Fill up the checklist.
I would say that the responsibility is always on the company of the managing the ships. Regulatory framework is a collection of things, guidance written down at the lowest common denominator of what could be agreed with 150 countries. And frankly, MLC is a very good convention for what is written in it. The implementation, if everyone in this world was responsible, we would not need police and society, right? So the port state control or flag state authorities are there, or the sire inspectors and bright ship inspectors have taken it upon themselves as that branch of, let's say, enforcement and implementation. But what I think, for especially in the issue of mental health, is what the companies need to do. We always discuss in life about what others should be doing, but I think each individual in their job as a recruitment in charge, as a safety in charge, as a company senior of management, need to look at that themselves in the mirror to say, am I doing the right thing? John F. Kennedy, don't ask what the country can do for you, think what you can do for the country. So that kind of stuff is what needs to change for people to take more ownership of their own employees. I mean, the shipping company is not doing a favor to a seafarer. They need seafarers to run their ships, and hence
uh,
the regulatory part of MLC, what the company should do, is equally important. Luckily for the companies, there are no SIRE inspectors coming, or there are TMSA auditors, but there are no PSC inspectors coming into the office, right, to check for things and give observations. So it's a long way to go. Every initiative in an industry takes time to implement. And on this topic, at least my reading is that we are not even at step number two. We are still at step number one. And if we want the seafaring profession to be attractive to people from all countries to come in, these kind of issues need to be addressed in a sensible way. I'm not saying that there is no merit in what the viewpoint of the ship owner manager is, but it needs to be a good discussion. And I think the laws need to change. The mention about such things should be there in the PNI Club rules. They should be there in the regulatory framework documents to say what are the expectations. In general, people don't like regulations. Every industry prefers minimum regulation, lean government, all of that kind of thing. Don't interfere with our life. But then the other side of it is the regulator has no choice when things are not happening correctly in the self regulated industry. So that's a long topic of discussion. We need a 3-hour webinar someday on that one.
But it's nice, Captain, that you have opened up so many in the Pandora box and talking about it at least. Senior positions.
That really needs to happen. Rather than sympathizing, let's empathize. Let's get into people and how iSail Marine actually wanted to empathize with the cadets who are coming back, with the officers who want to come back on shore. They want to be closer to family, and yet again bring upon a good work opportunity for them with their skills. So by saying this, I will now like to bring upon Mrs. Shraddha Balani, the director of iSail Marine, which is about transforming the maritime recruitment place. Over to you, Mrs. Balani.
Thank you so much, Kirtika, and good afternoon, everybody. It's an honor to be here today, representing a company that is dedicated to transforming the maritime recruitment landscape. At iSail, we are all committed to addressing two major challenges in the maritime industry, which is helping companies find the right talent and assisting professionals in securing the right job. Our vision is clear: to connect maritime professionals with global opportunities while enabling organizations to hire effectively and affordably. With our presence in India, Singapore, and Dubai, we are building a global platform for maritime recruitment, ensuring that businesses and professionals alike have access to the best opportunities worldwide. We take pride in offering customized and effective recruitment solutions, empowering companies with the right talent at the right time. But that's not all. iSail also provides certified training programs and career guidance for professionals seeking to enhance their careers. One of our initiatives is the iSail Internship Program, which features ISO accredited courses such as Internal Auditor for ISM, for ISO, Navigation Assessor, Superintendent Induction, Emergency Response and Crisis Management, Media Handling, Leadership, Rightship, using theoretical and simulation techniques, and many more. This program not only provides hands-on experience and recognized certifications, but it also helps professionals develop and enhance their leadership skills, preparing them for show-based roles in the industry. Our dedication was recognized last year when iSail was honored with the Excellence in Innovation Recruitment Award by ShipTech. So this achievement fuels our passion to continue revolutionizing the maritime recruitment. Now, I would like to share a short video that showcases the iSail app, which is an innovative solution that is simplifying maritime recruitment and career development.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Balani, for that wonderful introduction to iSail Marine. I hope everyone enjoyed the video and got some of the glimpse of the iSail Marine recruitment services as well as the app. Now, let's take a closer look at how the iSail app is transforming maritime recruitment. Beyond recruitment, the iSail app enhances career growth with features like resume building, interview coaching, soft skills training, and psychological assessments. We also offer communication training, grooming, and confidence boosting programs to ensure professionals presents themselves effectively in the industry. The app is complete ecosystem addressing not just hiring but also professional development. Whether you are looking for your next job or hiring top talent, iSeal is your trusted partner in maritime recruitment and career success. You can download the iSeal app on both iOS and Android, and the QR codes are displayed on the screen for quick access. Register yourself, create your profile, upload all your documents, and be ready to match with the right opportunity. I'm sure many of you will be eager to register with us after learning about the opportunities we provide. For more details about iSeal services, please visit www.iseal-marine.com. For any registration-related queries about the iSeal app, please write to support@iseal-marine.com. For more details about iCare services, please write to iCare@stagmarine.com. As we wrap up this webinar, I would like to thank Stag Marine and the iCare team for making this webinar possible. A big shout out to our speakers, Captain Pradeep Chawla, sir. Thank you so much for your time, and Captain V. Srinivas Reddy, who already left the webinar long back, but for their time and expertise, we thank you a lot. And finally, thank you to our lovely audience. You have been tremendous support, and we truly value your participation. And as a token of appreciation, we will provide you with a certificate for attending the webinar. To check your inbox. I, Pooja Adhikari, now say goodbye to all of you. And this is not the end. I thank all of you for your time and coming for the webinar. And we will see you on our next webinar. Thank you.
Senior positions